My name is Pastor Paul Slack. I am the president of Isaiah. We're here today because our legislator, the people that we elected who are in office right now, have failed to stand with people of Minnesota to rein in those who are profiting off the poor. It is a shame what is going on in our state as it regards what many businesses are doing to make money. They are abusing the poor, the low income, and people of color in our lowest income communities and are profiting off of their misery. And our legislator has failed both in 2014 and in 2016 to stand with the regular ordinary people of Minnesota to rein those people in. Scripture tells us he who oppresses the poor shows contempt for their maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God. Our legislator, our elected officials have not stood with the poor. They have helped to oppress the poor. They are showing contempt for our God, and they are not honoring those who need to be honored who put them into office. We're asking them to make a change, to stand with our poor, to represent those who have elected them and to serve their best interests. At this time, Grant Stevens will come.
My name is Grant Stevenson from the Isaiah organization, STEVENSEN, if you want that. We are here today to submit a report that we have drawn up called The High Price of Poverty, How Big Banks, Wall Street, and the Minnesota Legislature Facilitate Poverty Profiteering. This has been a terrible legislative session. We have seen a lack of movement in almost every way on working for Minnesota's working families. There has been legislation passed in the Senate, actually, on paid family leave, could not even get a hearing here in the House. This is legislation that would allow working men and women to care for their children, working men and women to care for their parents, or in the time of crisis for another member of their family. A self-funded piece of legislation that could not even get a hearing here in the House of Representatives. To make matters worse, there has not even been a conversation in either of these two bodies on legislation that would rein in the worst of poverty profiteering, payday lending. There is live legislation right now in the House and in the Senate that would rein in to 36% the interest rates on payday lending. Did not even get a hearing, not even in the Senate. And it leads us to ask the question, how much disdain do you have for the working families of Minnesota? That we can't even get a conversation, can't even get a debate about basic pieces of legislation that would provide relief for families when they are hurting, when their bank accounts have been emptied, when their paychecks are low. Can't even get a conversation. Poverty profiteers, including payday lenders, pawn shops, debt collectors, and subprime auto and home loan companies have created an entire business model devoted to taking advantage of low-income Minnesotans when they reach the end of their rope. These are business models that depend on people suffering. And we think it's immoral and it is wrong to profit off of people in their worst hour, and it's not what we should be about in the state of Minnesota. This has been a dismal session, and we want to say now we're expecting better. We need something new in this state, and we need legislators here in the House of Representatives as well as in the Senate to take a look at how the most vulnerable Minnesotans are faring in this economy that has hurt them so much. And we have a few ideas about the next steps that need to be taken.
My name is Dan Quillen, Quillin. I am the co-leader of the Payday Lending Health Assessment Group within Isaiah. We have and have had specific recommendations on what needs to be done. Number one, Minnesota legislators should commit that they will not take campaign contributions from poverty profiteers or their associations. Number two, The Minnesota State Legislature should pass strong legislation regulating the payday lending industry. Currently, there are 18 states and Washington, D.C. that prohibit extremely high-interest payday loans. Minnesota, unfortunately, is not one of them. The Minnesota State Legislature, number 3, should enact similarly tough regulations on other poverty profiteers to stop Wall Street money from profiting off people's suffering. Number 4, the Minnesota State Legislature should create a state-run bank that would give all Minnesotans access to equitable banking services without usurious interest rates. And number 5, hedge funds, private equity firms, and big banks should stop providing financial backing to payday lenders and other poverty profiteers. They should also stop using poverty profiteers as an investment vehicle. So, thank you. Are there questions?
One more thing. So in addition to releasing this report to the legislature, we will be releasing this report to all of our member churches, to the members, to the different church and religious bodies across the state so that everyone can see how poverty profiteering is affecting the members of their congregations. We will also be delivering today a pledge form to every single member of the House of Representatives and every single member of the Minnesota Senate, asking them to no longer take any money from the poverty industry of payday lending. If there are any questions, we can take them now.
What is the total of the money that's been contributed? The report lists one of the Riskin family, I believe. But do you have an idea what the total amount of money contributed to the legislature from the payday lending and the similar organizations?
Our report covers the most recent year of 2014. Kate, do you have your finger on that number?
The report covers contributions from Brad Rixman and Payday America, and it's a total of $100,000 in 2014.
I assume there are others.
There are.
Do you have the number on?
We don't.
Oh, okay. Also on Aspen Dental, they still do business in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And Minnesota.
In Minnesota.
Okay. You didn't mention that in the report, and that was one of the seemingly more egregious forms of pressure on low-income people. Do you know if that's still going on?
I believe it is, but I don't want to, I can't speak to it if it's not in the report.
What's the question?
Aspen Dental.
I think that is in there. That is in.
It's in the report.
Okay.
What's the question?
Is it still going on?
Yes.
Yes. Any other questions?
You know, you were hoping that this would get passed this year. I mean, well, look at, I mean, they're done now.
Yeah.
It's got to be kind of disheartening, you know?
Well, it's very frustrating, and I think that, when you look at the numbers, when they take a poll on some of these issues, there's a lot of Minnesotans who don't understand, for example, how payday lending works, but once they do, well over 80% of them say that this is an outrageous practice and it shouldn't be legal. All of the people who work in this building and all of the people who work across the street understand that. But you have to decide that you're going to have the moral backbone to do something for people who don't pay for you to be in office. You have to decide that you're going to have the moral backbone to pass legislation that might actually hurt some of your contributors, namely the payday industry. But it's the right thing to do, and it's what we expect.
You propose to limit payday lending interest rates to, is it 36?
36.
What is it now?
Well, right now, the average is 277% in Minnesota, but that's an average, so that there are people paying well over 400 or 500% interest on a loan in Minnesota.
So legalized loan sharks.
Legalized loan
It
sharks,
is legalized loan sharks.
yes.
Yeah. And our legislators won't even stand to rein it at 36. We've talked to people and they said 36% is outrageous, but they won't even limit it at 36.
36% is the is the limit that the U.S. government puts on what you can charge a military family for interest, and we're saying that the limit should be at least that for every American.
Is that the limits on the other states that have enacted legislation?
I'm not so familiar with that, but I believe there are states at 36%.
Any plan or any hope of getting included in a possible special session?
Probably not this year, but we do expect those who would like to hold elected office and are running for election in November to start addressing these issues, like this is a real serious concern for Minnesotans, because it is.